Welcome again to It Doesn't Take a Genius, conversation with introspective perspectives and pithy points of view. Here are your hosts, my friends, Max and Marty.
I think that's Mark and Mike.
Yeah, whatever.
Ramsey!
Marshall, how are you today?
I'm fantastic, my friend. Fantastic.
It's time for more of our 20 bad habits. So this is kind of exciting. And I think we need to tell people that to explain why behind me is the word but repeated over and over, written in dust by my children, because they thought it was funny, but it reminds us that one of the bad habits is starting with no, but, however, etc. And you have 2020 behind you because we have 20 bad habits.
Yes, we have 20 things to work on. And I would like to, those of you who saw, part one of this, one of the challenges we threw out was, do you have the courage to show the list of 20 things you shouldn't do to a coworker, a spouse, a friend, and ask them to point to the ones that you're egregiously committing? So hopefully you've had some experience with that. If so, definitely put it in the comments below this video, and don't forget to
please
subscribe so you can get notification when we post part 3 and part 4.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, so just the one thing that I want to say, just as a reminder from the last episode, is that these are the things under your control. They're the challenges to interpersonal behavior, as Marshall Goldsmith calls it. And the idea here is that I can control how I communicate with you and the things that I inject into our conversation, our communication. So he's distilled it down to 20 lovely things that, frankly, all of us are guilty to some degree, probably. And are we ready? Anything else we need to say before we dive into this?
Yes, this is not a to-do list. This is a to-don't list.
Right.
Don't be this guy. All right, what's number 6?
All right, number 6 is telling the world how smart we are. The need to show people we're smarter than they think they are, than they think we are. I should make sure we say that right. The need to show people we're smarter than they think we are.
Oh, I am so good at this one.
Right.
I may be the best at this one. Yeah, I rule this one. Yeah. So when I saw this one, the first thing I thought of was I can't remember if it was Theodore Roosevelt or Maya Angelou or whoever, but they said the people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right. Right.
So just because you are the smartest person in the room, until you engage with folks, nobody cares.
Right.
And so having a great idea is completely different than getting a great idea acted upon.
Yeah, and I've literally had a manager walk up to me, or I guess he was just at the time an employee, and he walked up to me and said, "Hey, I really should be a manager here. I have an IQ of blah 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 blah." And the end, like that was the end of the sentence. Like, now can you go talk to management for me now that you're aware that I'm a superstar? And of course, what's the problem with that? He's, just as the bad habit says, he's telling people that he's really smart, but he's got to show them that he's really smart. And there's a big gulf between the two, because most people, they don't care how much you know, as you've said, and they especially don't care when you just tell them and don't prove it by showing them. So I think that's my thoughts on that. Anything else you want to say?
Well, I think if you're driving down the road, you're looking for food, and you look at the restaurant sign, and the restaurant sign says authentic Mexican food. What do we know about that Mexican food?
Probably not authentic.
Yeah, completely inauthentic. So if somebody walks up to you and says, "I'm the most honest person you'll ever meet,"
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. Hide your wallet, hide your kids,
Right.
hide everything. So if we have to proclaim it,
Yeah.
it's probably not true.
Yeah.
And
Well
so,
said.
yeah, if you want to over time demonstrate it, that's fine. And I was reading I can't remember what I was reading. It was an article, it was a study, I think it was Harvard Business Review, and they were talking about one of the best ways to sell an idea is to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And people who do more listening actually get their ideas implemented more than those who move forward thinking they're the smartest person in the room and not
Right.
listening. And it kind of goes to people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? One way you demonstrate care is by caring about what the other person has to say.
Yeah.
And so if you truly want your ideas to move forward, and maybe they are great ideas, declaring yourself the smartest person, the smartest person in the room and demanding compliance is not the way to go about it.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, you mentioned authenticity. Speaking of authenticity, the next bad habit number 7 is speaking when angry. Some people really authentically get angry. And Marshall Goldsmith defines this as using emotional volatility as a management tool. Using emotional volatility as a management tool. Have you seen this play out I know you have, so I'm just fishing here, but I suspect you've seen this play out in possibly a car dealership, et cetera.
Oh yeah. And you think about it, it was standard management technique. It was standard coaching technique. Think of all the old coaches, man. You grab the player's face mask and you shake it. You throw a chair across the room, right? You punch stuff. You know, this was good leadership.
Right.
What we figured out over time as we've studied it is that it's a ineffective short-term leadership.
Yeah.
So you get results in the short term over time, and I've seen this happen, right? I was in this business, and the leader was freaking out, and all the managers were sitting there like, and he's throwing things and smashing and yelling and all that, and the managers were unfazed. Yeah. I'm terrified. Oh, what? Oh, this is the most craziest thing I've ever heard. We should tase him or call 911.
Yep.
So he leaves, and they all just went back to work doing what they were doing previously. Didn't do anything that he asked them to do. And I said, "What's going on?" They said, "He does that every day." We're immune to it. He'll have something to yell about tomorrow. We don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And so it was probably effective in the short run, completely ineffective for long-term leadership success.
Yeah, I was going to say, you think you're surprising people, but what I've noticed is that the places where that happens, people just know when to avoid you. They know what not to tell you. So if you'd like to suddenly have zero loyalty and zero truth, then just go off the handle periodically, and you can make that happen for yourself. It's a bad habit. You got to control it. And our friend Pamela Cole, who was our holiday special guest, I can hear her right now saying, that anger is probably not the primary emotion. There's a root underneath that centered in loss, some sort of sadness, or fear, just being scared in some way. And it comes out as anger. We've all been there and had that experience. So this is one to really pause on and say, what's underneath this that makes me do this?
Mm-hmm. Well, and think about it's not going to get you where you want to go.
Right.
And so NBA coach Phil Jackson says, anger is the enemy of instruction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think I'm passionately, convincing them to do this differently or to adopt this behavior. They're not hearing anything. They just want to get away from you. It's right. A fight, flight, or freeze mode. They're right. Only going to do one of those 3 things. They're not going to go, oh, that's a great concept, and I'm taking it in and I'm going to work on that. But that's not, it's just not happening. The other thing here is if it's an interaction between 2 people, the person who's angry is the person who's no longer in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've lost control of your emotion. The person retaining control of their emotion, who's able to make strategic decisions on how to respond, they're winning.
Yeah.
And for people who get angry, the thought of not winning hopefully is enough to get you to change your behavior.
Yeah.
And if you want nothing else, think of all the tough guys in the movies. The toughest guys in every movie aren't screaming and yelling.
They're cool.
Yeah. Clint Eastwood saying, "You gonna pull those pistols or whistle?"
Right.
That's how you truly get your point across. It's not through anger, it's through resolute commitment and keeping your cool.
The one exception to the whole anger is the enemy of instruction is the Jeff Foxworthy routine about waking up at his think it's his father-in-law's house, who wakes up at 4 a.m. and turns on wildlife documentaries at full volume because he's going deaf. And he says, it's a weird feeling to be angry, but learning something at the same time. It's a great routine. Has nothing to do with these bad habits, but I just wanted to share it with you. Anyway,
Number 8.
Negativity, or quote, let me explain why that won't work, unquote. It's the need to share our negative thoughts even when we weren't asked. And man, Mike, this one just, I mean, I hate to say it, and I'll never say the name, but it automatically makes me think of a former colleague who, this is the reputation that will haunt this colleague for the rest of their career because they can't stop doing it and nobody enjoys it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just such a wet blanket on creativity and innovation and things like that. And
Right.
I think it might have been Mark Twain. I got to get better at attributing my quotes. I know quotes, but I don't know who said them. But I think it was Mark Twain who said, avoid negative people. They have a problem for every solution.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no matter what you come up with, let me tell you why that won't work.
Right.
Yeah, there may be flaws in it, but if you could at least start out by acknowledging the parts that do have potential,
Right.
then we can reach some common ground, and then we can have a discussion of the parts that may or may not work. So if I know that your first response is going to be negative, and we know these people that it's such a conditioned response that they don't really even take in the idea.
Right.
It's just you said it, so yeah, I'm against it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, did you really hear it? Because sometimes as you talk to them, if you continue to talk to them, all of a sudden they'll come around to it. And it's like your negative response is the equivalent of somebody in customer service walking up to the customer and say, "Can I help you?" And the customer says, "Just looking."
Right.
Even though they've been looking for somebody to help them for an hour, their first response is this. It's just a knee-jerk conditioned response. People who are negative and do that, yeah, it doesn't take long for people to stop bringing them ideas.
Yeah, that we just don't come to you when you do that. And it's really for people that wrestle with this. I think here's another quote is something Henry Ford said that really predicts where the the coaching industry and a lot of positive psychology went. He said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're probably right. And so, you can, this can become a limiting belief for you that there's always something that's wrong with the idea being thrown in your face. So something to watch out for sure.
Well, my job as a leader, I had 3 responses. So somebody on my team would approach me with an idea. And maybe in my head, I thought, this is the worst idea I have ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
This may be the height of bad ideas. But I always had 3 responses that I could use. The first was, "Oh, wow, that's unique." Tell me more. And then one of them was, "Well, that's interesting. I'd never thought of that before."
Mm-hmm.
And that was the truth. I had never, I'm not lying. That was truly the height of it. So that's unique. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that before. Or, all right, so tell me more about how this would work.
Mm.
And then I would watch them cycle through their idea, and about halfway through they'd go, "This may be the dumbest idea I've ever come up with." And then I could be positive and go, "I 100% agree with you." But it does spark some ideas, and let's think about what we could take away from this, right? So it's kind of like the but, the however, the no, right? I don't want to use those phrases, and I don't want to shoot down the idea, because if I do, I might not get the next idea, which is the $1 million idea.
Right. We both worked for a lady named Dolores Hazel, a friend and colleague of ours, and she always, when she got a chance to observe me in action coaching, she would start the conversation afterwards with, "How do you think you did?"
Right.
And I promise you, she could have started it with, "Let me tell you 5 things that I would suggest you never do again." She was there one time when I just absolutely melted down and it didn't go well. But you know what? We all thrived under her, and we're super loyal to her, by the way. About, I'd say 15 of us that just, followed her wherever we could. Yeah, I think again, these are all monster hurdles that when you overcome them, just unlock all sorts of success in your relationships.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
And as you walk away, having done that, sometimes if you're situationally aware, you maybe have that little voice in your head going, "That was not good, dude. You just crushed that person's idea."
Yeah.
And it's going to take you a while to get them back, if you can even get them back.
If you can do it. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so bad habit number 9, withholding information, the refusal to share information in order to maintain an advantage over others. Nefarious.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because information is power.
Right.
So
everybody says so.
If I keep the power,
right,
I'm more powerful.
Right.
No, you're not.
Except you're not.
Yeah. You're so much more weak. And so when you think of this, whether it comes from insecurity, I see people who justify or rationalize doing this because they see it as a form of job security.
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm the only one who knows how to do this, they can never let me go.
Right.
Well, here's the reality. If that's the only reason they're keeping you, they're probably going to let you go.
Yeah, because it's just knowledge. It's a skill set that you can be, training other people in. So you don't need this problem child, this bottleneck.
Oh yeah. Well, I had the store. They had a department. This department long-term manager, and he had that old philosophy, because this seems to have occurred back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, where this became popular. Right? He kept tasks. He kept information to himself. The team didn't know a lot of things, and the department was successful. New guy comes in, and he decides his number one goal in the world is to cross-train all his employees and share with them everything he knows. As good as this department was, shortly after this process of sharing everything with everybody, here's how you do this, here's how you look this up, here's why we do this. Right? The department just grew exponentially.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit. And people were taking out, with quarantines and not being able to come back to work. His department he had people to shift and move, and everybody knew why and what everybody else's job functions were. He just kept marching right through. We talk about regular adversity, a little slump in business, losing a big client. He was able to persevere during a pandemic,
right?
Because he had taken the exact opposite philosophy. The morale on his team, because the team knew that there were certain things that they could be helping with and they could be doing, or things were confusing because they didn't understand why they were being done or weren't being done.
Mm-hmm.
All that went away when he chose to bring them all into the fold and into the loop informationally.
I've had that happen at a store as well. A client that had a new manager for a department. First order of business was cross-training every single person, and the level of empowerment that those employees felt. That manager has since retired, but she started such a good thing that they've just continued their trajectory under a new manager. And it was really a thing of beauty to watch the empowerment blossom.
Yeah, if you have any desire to move up, you first have to find and train your replacement.
That's right.
So you have to provide somebody under you with the knowledge and information to be able to take your spot if you ever want to leave. Because we've seen this too, right? People say, well, I'd like to move that guy up, but there's nobody to take his spot.
Yep.
So now you're stuck, and you've built your own prison at that point.
That is a phenomenal point. You actually, I need to go write that down and talk to a certain person about. Thank you for helping me in my coaching practice.
Why we're here.
You know what I just did, Mike? And it was true, by the way, what I just said, but I wanted to give you proper recognition. That was a phenomenal idea. And bad habit number 10 is the failure to give proper recognition, the inability to give praise and reward. And this is a huge problem. And people think that they know they don't do it, but they just don't think it's that big a deal. It's
they underestimate the power. One of the things they really underestimate, and I've seen this everywhere is they don't underestimate the power of their words in their role.
That's exactly the point. It's the weight of the words.
Yeah, as the leader, as the coach, my negative feedback hits harder, exponentially harder. But on the plus side, my recognition lands with greater praise, greater strength.
That's right.
And so your words have all this incredible power, and you can use your powers for good. You can use your powers for bad.
That's right.
And recognition is using your power for good. And we see this, especially if it jumps a level. So if my boss tells me good job, that's cool.
Yeah.
If my boss's boss tells me I did a good job, that's cool.
Yes.
That raises to,
Yes.
so your recognition is working when it becomes worth retelling. So if you praise the employee and the employee goes home and tells their significant other,
Yep.
you wouldn't believe what happened today. The
Right.
boss came down. He knew that I'd done that thing with the customer and helped save the day, and he thanked me for that.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah.
And so now they're retelling the tale of the recognition. That's how you've really done it well.
And you can do this all sorts of different ways. There's a personal version of it, which is outside of your spouse's presence, go brag to that spouse's parents. Go talk to your in-laws and say what a phenomenal, cook she is, or whatever it is. There's all sorts of things I can say about my wife to my in-laws. And it's not necessarily that my in-laws are going to repeat it back to my wife. It's not like it's a trick, but spreading that much recognition into the system about how valued these people are to you. I mean, it can't go wrong. It just cannot go wrong.
Oh yeah, no, it's huge. And we've seen these studies where if people will talk positively to plants, they will grow and flourish better.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, if you play classical music and you say nice soothing things to plants, they actually get, grow and do better. Right? Think about what this would do for humans.
Right.
Yeah, if you want your humans to succeed and to grow and to do better. And the most frequent thing that I hear is, well, we pay them every week.
Uh-huh.
They get a check.
Yep.
Or I didn't see anything that was worthy of praise.
Right.
They've set the praise bar. The person has to save an orphan from a burning building.
Right.
And then maybe I'll give you a shout out.
Yeah.
I'm always reminded of Chevy Chase in National Lampoon Christmas Vacation. He decorates the house, and everything, and he gets it all done, and he plugs it in, and airplanes are diverting because it's all lit up, and he says, "What do you think, Dad?" And the dad goes, "Well, they're not blinking." Yeah,
Right.
like I can't praise you because I need you to do more.
Right.
The exact opposite. If you want them to do more, praise what you want to see more.
Yeah.
And so,
and I'm going to tell you, we have another episode here that we're going to make on how to give good recognition, because I can just hear our energy on this. It's just something that is such a perennial deal. And you know what? I'll save my story for when we do that, because I know we're probably running a little long. And we'll have to do an episode on recognition, because it just comes up again and again and again, and it's just such a heavy hitter for organizations, and it costs so little, just a little bit of time and effort.
Yeah,
so
very little time, very little effort, huge impact. One of the best investments you can make.
All right, so
that's number 10.
That's number 10. So telling the world how smart we are, speaking when angry, negativity, or the let me explain why that won't work mentality, withholding information, and failure to give proper recognition. Those are our next 5, and we've got 5 more later, and then 5 more after that. So stick around for a couple more episodes and get through all 20 of these and find out what your big challenge is to work on.
Yes. And so for those of you who are watching as these come out weekly, you now have 7 days to fix these 5 things.
Right.
So time's a wasting, people.
Get on it.
Yeah, let's get on it, and then we'll give you 5 more things to work on next week. if you're watching these sequentially because they've all been previously uploaded, you got a lot to do and a very little bit of time to do it. So I encourage you to strategically pick one, work on that for 2 years, and then come back and pick another one.
That's a good idea. And of course, call us or contact us if we can do anything to help.
Oh, definitely. Our contact information is below. Hit that thumbs up button or whatever we have on Podbean, and keep spreading the word. We do appreciate it. And now, some words from our announcer.
Let's give him some recognition.
He works for free.
And that, I guess, is that. It doesn't take a genius. No rights reserved, nothing trademarked, copyrighted, or even original. Feel free to give it to anyone, anytime, using any and all media formats. Warning, Mark and Mike may or may not make another one. I'm your announcer, and I did not get paid a nickel to do this. They won't even let me tell you my name. So until next time, if there is a next time, stay safe, be well.
That's good enough.